Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. Thank you very much for joining us here on this Third Pillar Thursday. For those who do not know, Third Pillar Thursday is where we get to talk about the third pillar of exploration in tabletop RPGs, and more specifically, Dungeons and Dragons, as quoted by WotC for their 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, where the third pillar of gaming is about exploration with combat and social interactions representing the first and second pillars. Just letting you know just ahead of time that apparently I've got a little bit of a sinus thing going on, probably due to allergies, which is kind of weird because we just had some snow and rain here in Central Ohio, which usually puts that stuff down, but I don't know what the hell's going on. So just to let you know that if I sound a little bit nasally, I apologize for that right up front. Now, this week we've been talking about paranoia and overreaction. Of course, you guys know that earlier this week we've been talking about some recent things that have been happening in the news. Ohio has made the national news yet again. We were proud newsmakers on the national front with having quite a bit of a epidemic when it comes to opioids, but this time we're making the national news because of our interactions with police and shooting and the public and releasing video and things of that nature. And of course, this all falls into our, discussion of taking things that happen in our normal lives and and putting it into our public air, like our hobbies, the things that influence us creatively and such. Dead man's like, probably due to your mask. I'm a without masks. I've had allergies quite a bit. I don't think it's the mask so much. I think it's more like the breathing the air itself. I actually would love to have. I haven't taken any like antihistamines recently, which I really need to start doing because I think that's the case. The and I know where you're going with that, so I see you. Don't think I don't see you, but I see you. Um, the the concept here, I think, with that this was brought up earlier in the week as well, with the paranoia of adventuring and how does that fit into the actual explorative nature of what we're going to talk about. I think this goes back to one of the mantras of what would be considered in the OSR community. The idea that instead of die rolls and easy fixes, there is this, and it's strange to me that there actually is a division on this, which I find pretty hilarious. But that in the old school OSR kind of mantra is where the classic dungeon delving wasn't done with I walk into the room, I make a perception roll, perception check, tell me what's in the room. But because there were no rules specifically to explore the greater world, or for the most part, exploration tends to be one-offs. It doesn't tend to fit into a one single bucket of what you're trying to do. That it was all about poking and prodding and exploring the dungeons to the point where there's a whole category of Gygaxian monsters and interactions in dungeons where there's really an ecology even of the things that adventurers do. And of course, when anything taken to an extreme tends to be a bad thing. And that extreme of like going into the dungeon with the empty room and finding out that it's not as empty as you thought it was, and it's not as safe as you think it is, even though it's some musty old dungeon room where no one's been in it for centuries, but you're going down into a crypt or a place with monsters that are roaming around, and you just happen to have these rooms that are empty, but they're not empty at all because there's dangers around every corner. And a lot of that old school, like, gotcha kind of mentality came out of that. And so what essentially began to start out as a very fun explorative nature of poking and prodding around the corners, both due to the fragility of the beginning characters in Dungeons and Dragons, combined with maybe urban legends of dungeon masters that just spent the whole time going, gotcha. Turned a lot of that paranoia into overreactions and table flipping and things like that. Caius of Glantry, hey, what's going on? Says, can exploration include exploration of character, of the psyche of your fellow PCs? I would agree with that. Hey, Keel, what's going on there? Yo, what's up? Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with that. And now, mind you, Dungeons and Dragons in all of its iterations hasn't really. There really isn't very much of a mechanical ability to do that. I suppose if you want to include things of like insanity and things like that, yeah, you guys are uh, friends with each other, communicating across such platforms. I'm glad I could be the bridge. For uh, let me see if I can find the link to this. Sorry, I know I'm distracted myself just a little bit, but I'm going to pull up a link if you guys do not mind, and let's see if I can find it here. Let's see. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. So I tend not to. I shouldn't be distracting myself with that, but I am going to do that. Boom, boom, boom. Let's put in a link. Let's see if I can put the link in here for you there, sir. Mm, mm, there we are. And I'm just going to put in the link to a person who has just joined us here. Let's see. I'll put it in both the here. Bam. A link to oops, Run Right Play. I just want to let you guys know that a number of the people who actually arrive on the channel here um, are content creators themselves, and I don't want to. Although not my intention is not to promote everyone, please check out their channels as well. They Run Right Play. By Keel Adam is an excellent resource for creativity. I believe the third installment of the zine is out, if I'm not mistaken. So, sorry, little promotional segue there on my part, but anyway, um, one of the aspects. Yeah, Caius, you're fine. No, the what we were talking earlier and what we're going to talk about today is about creating an environment where you're fine there, Keel. An environment of the danger of exploring the realm in which you are in, whether it's a setting, a dungeon, it could be going overland travel or whatnot. And a lot of times we tend to talk narratively, like, oh, you're traveling across the accursed desert, or there's these high mountain peaks and they're very dangerous. But other than the narrative part, a lot of times we don't really include the dangerous mechanisms that are part and parcel of the explorative nature of it, and the fact that around every corner there can be some dangers. And the reason I think that has it's always switches back and forth with it being just far narrative, more to mechanical, back to narrative, is because um, in if you're writing a book, it's very easy for a writer to manipulate and control how much danger we put our protagonists in. But when we have our players in front of us, when the danger is ramped up too high, the paranoia turns into analysis paralysis, right? It doesn't. It becomes the point where every NPC tends to be someone that wants to backstab the players. Every empty room becomes nothing but a danger trap, and everyone wants to to run the hell out of there. And so then of course you spend all this time and effort to make this, what you think is this interactive, dangerous world that you want your players in, and what they end up doing is going back to the tavern, buying it, and trying to retire and play, entrepreneurship, the accounting. you know. Oh no, you're absolutely fine there. And Keel says, correct. Monthly collaborative magazine filled with all sorts of cool stuff. 3 issues available, and issue 4 is nearly ready. No, absolutely. We we're going to have to do a collaboration at some point, and which we will. I'm just not sure how we'll do it, but it'll happen. It'll absolutely happen, in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, you might even want to do me a favor and reach out to me when the 4th one is ready. Maybe we'll do a little promo for it. Seriously. So the so of course, once the urban legends go out about the dangerous empty rooms, the all of the earwigs and the cloakers and the piercers and ropers and a ton of monsters that are pretending to be other mundane things around the community. We start pulling those things back, and so of course they don't turn into mechanical problems. They start moving far to the side of narrative, and to keep the danger levels down so that the players move forward through the dangers that are presented in in the background. It's the noise, right? It's the concept of, after traveling for weeks on a storm-tossed ship, you land at the beach, but we really don't roll the dice for being in that storm, right? We just say, well, we're getting there, but you arrive safely, you got all your crap. Sure, the ship is destroyed, but you're fine. Please go on the adventure when you get to the island. And while there's nothing wrong with those kind of introductions, if we keep doing that, eventually the paranoia starts to fade to the background, and then no one is hurt. Caius is like, do it, do the collab, right? Yeah, Deadman says might be a collab based on Level Up 5e. Yeah, I guess that's another shout out that I've fallen by the wayside. I'm one of the contributing writers to N World's very expansive new project they're working on, known as Level Up 5e. It is literally advanced 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. And if you go up to Level Up 5e, you'll see all of the playtest materials. You can be part of it, what you like to see, what you don't want to see. Taking a look at probably hundreds of pages of playtest materials right now. They did a huge info dump of martial maneuvers. Essentially, they are built in the same manner as spells for the spellcasting classes, but they are non-magical martial arts maneuvers, or martial maneuvers, not necessarily. Okay, they technically are martial arts, but they are not Eastern based. Or if you feel they're too Eastern based, you can go in and say, "Hey, why don't you change this?" So that's exactly what that's up. Yeah, and of course you can see all the right now it's basically all player facing. It's all the player character options up front. But as the new play test materials are released, you'll see that there's a lot of things for the game master to use, such as strife and supply. Strife can be summarized as mental exhaustion in Dungeons and Dragons, a 5th edition. So 5th edition has like 6 levels of physical exhaustion. Strife is 5 levels, 6 levels of mental exhaustion, and there are elements you can place into the world, including overland travel and the explorative element, which I was brought in as one of a group of 3 individuals who helped bring the the exploration pillar of gaming as full as the combat section. So that's going to be pretty daunting. And as a matter of fact, since I'm doing since I'm doing a promo, this circles with, all the way back around to uh, one little part that I got to introduce into it. Yesterday we talked about like the battle between like the fiends and celestials, and actually in the thumbnail I even wrote in the Celestine War, this idea of like mortals roaming around a world where there's the battle between angels and demons, essentially angels and devils in the sky. And I got an opportunity to actually include that as an actual Celestine War happening and make that an environmental challenge. And I'm pretty proud of it, and it's pretty funny in a very dark kind of way where um, that you actually can get advantages with a capital A on some of the saving throws based on alignment. It kind of circles back to how alignment has become basically it, it's almost non-existent, but in this case, it is in existence because of the very nature of where fiends and celestials come from. So, got a chance to do that, and it's pretty fun if you just take a look at it. Anyway, um, getting back on track, uh, I feel like the idea of adding in dangers where players have to worry about exploring the world. Keel's like, that sounds rad as fuck. You always do awesome work with the exploration pillar. That's kind of my jam. And for those, a little history of why it is I feel so passionate about it is because um, one of the games I played a ton was Marvel Phase Rip. It was Marvel Superheroes, and Phase Rip stood for it was a 7-letter acronym of fighting, agility, strength, endurance, reason, intuition, and psyche. So that's where Phase Rip came from. And I played the hell out of that and DC Heroes, the DC um, Mayfair game system. It had an AP system. Anyway, the point was I played a ton of superhero games, played Champions, and what was another one I played? Early version of Mutants and Masterminds, and one called Fusion and stuff. So Vampanoid's like, it sounds funny. So like a divine comedy? Yes, in a literal sense. Dante's Inferno and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, believe you me, characters of less than double digits probably won't survive that explorative encounter. It includes anyway. I play a lot of superhero games, and everybody wanted to be Wolverine plus. They wanted to kill off. They kill off every superhero encounter. So I had to default to running out of ideas about the bad guy that wants to, I don't know, put a base on the moon or mind control all of society. And I end up making a lot of environmental challenges for my superhero players. So they were always saving people from burning buildings, earthquakes, capsized ships, bridges collapsing, so on and so forth. There was a ton of that stuff. And so they ended up it was funny because they were murder hobos in the superhero games, and then they end up having a ton of fun doing the environmental stuff. And I wholeheartedly stole from every action movie I could find, and then they actually started coming to me with ideas to incorporate into it to make them look like badasses. And that always stuck with me, and we had a lot of fun with it. They knew what they were doing. I mean, it wasn't like they were like, "I'm a murder hobo." I don't realize that. They understood, and after a while, they really our friends like really embraced it. And I was late teens, early 20s or something when I was doing that, and then I kept that throughout role playing into Dungeons and Dragons when my players surprised me when they closed the portcullis on a bunch of harpies. I threw in some really low level game or something, and I had to come up on the fly with like, how do I do that? And then eventually it really stuck, and it became like, what's the coolest place we can have an encounter? And it became like, it was like location, 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 more so than than like monster, monster, monster. And which is why I always bring up the idea, like, punching people in the throat is fun, but punching people in the throat while you're standing on the outer membrane of a airship, or you know having a fight on a storm tossed on docks where there's like white capped waves spilling over the docks or something, or having a fight during a sandstorm or an earthquake or mudslides and so on and so forth. It really it gets my blood pumping. So that's where all that comes from. Now, Kaya says, do you ever see a side winning the Celestine War? I would love to see hell or part of it occupied by angels and both sides genuinely trying to cope with the situation. It to be honest with you, I think that would be awesome to see something like that, especially when it comes to like we often what sometimes one of my pet peeves about eternal wars is that we often don't see the tug of war rope get pulled very far from one side to the other. It's the idea that Gondor is always good, and um, what's the map cliche? The land of good. Of course, it's Gondor because it's always the land of good, and the land of evil is always the evil humanoid goblinoid realm, and it never seems to flow back and forth very much. And I would love the idea that fiends moved into the upper planes, and the celestials moved down into the lower planes for whatever reason, whether it's something like they open up diplomatic some kind of like diplomatic building or something. I don't know what it would look like or how it would appear, but yeah, I would love to see something like that. Or it's the dark side and High Father exchanging their kids to enable a temporary impasse. That happens a lot of times. Hey, hey, Kill. Hey, have a good evening. You especially all you guys on the other side of the world. Hey, man, have a great one. Oh yeah, and we will hook up, man. So, uh, good looking out there, and please, everybody, check out Run Right Play. Please do that. Yeah, yeah. Kaya says locations make monsters, or monsters kind of monsters love to use their locations and such too. Uh, Cameron says Magic Samurai duel on a creaky old rope bridge. Magus versus magus? Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, and on a windy day with mists of rain. Hell's yes. Hell's yes. And to me, the paranoia part of exploration to me is it's not the um we're we're going to fight orcs and an orc chieftain. It's the we need to go across the creaky old rope bridge during a windy rainstorm. And was that just did we just get to the middle of the rope bridge and a bolt of lightning and thunder just struck overhead, and now the orc chieftain and their cronies show up? That's the part, to me, that's the part that draws upon the we need to really be careful what we're about to do or what we do. It's the crossing the frozen lake and during a blizzard, and knowing that, okay, on one hand we got to get the hell across this frozen lake as quick as possible, but it's also dangerous to do so. So now we need to move slower because you're going to slip and fall, and we don't know how long it takes to get to the other side. Or maybe you do know how long it takes to get to the other side, but you hear enemies in the background. You hear the howl of wolves, or you hear the battle cries of berserkers, or maybe a combination of all of them together. And so, yeah. Vampanoid's like, all food in the hells tastes gross, even those conjured magically. Devils invaded the upper planes because they find out that all the food tastes amazing there. They miss it, right? It's like, we were eating cardboard this whole time? Motherfucker, this is great. And all the angels are sitting back like, oh my goodness, why did we even invite these people? I remember this back when I had angel wings. This tastes great. Vampanoid goes on to say Celestials don't want them moving in because it lowers their property values. Yeah, how many times have we seen that happen in real life? I'm sure writ large, angels are like, you don't have to go home, but you got to get out of here. This is not a buffet. The solars and planars are like, why did we even make conjure food and water for these people? Ah, damn fiends. And all the fiends are like, don't you remember? Don't you remember me? They've got like a bedroll moving in. Mm-mm-mm. Cameron says, "Oh no! Imagine a devil with diplomatic immunity, or what about your character having diplomatic immunity in hell?" And sometimes we can start to ramp up the dangers and the possibility of dangers. Sometimes, on one hand, we can threaten the players with physical violence. That's the easy go-to. Hey, if you do this, then this other thing will happen. As a matter of fact, in the cinematic environments books I write, there's literally a little section called "If Then," and it's based on if the players commit a particular act. Um, uh, Trying to predict certain types of actions that players or adventurers would take going along their journeys. For example, let's take an avalanche, right? If loud noises are made, such as raised voices, screaming, yelling, or those thunder damage spells, then an avalanche is most likely going to happen. So the danger is, well, my best spell is one that makes a lot of noise. Maybe this isn't the proper time to use it. But physical damage directly to players is one way to do it. But with the cameras being sarcastic, and I get it, but you guys know me, I like to pull out little tricks of the trade. Sometimes it's not threats to us, but threats to other people and other situations that can start to ramp up the tension as well. Like the players might be completely immune to, whatever the hell's going on in the nine hells, but the threat might not be to them, but it might be to, say, people that they're trying to get out of Dante's Inferno, or the MacGuffin that they're trying to find, whether that MacGuffin is a person, place, or a thing, or an ideal, or something, or a piece of information that might put a threat to whatever they're looking for when they start to act out of sorts, which is a great way to be able to ramp down the physical dangers and then ramp up the social and explorative nature of something, because yeah, the players might be able to beat ass. You might win the battle, but you're not going to win the war if you keep doing what you're doing, and that's a great way to do that. Oh man. Kaya says the angels and devils team up and conquer the abyss to end chaos once and for all. They succeed. How does that impact the rest of the multiverse? And Cam's like, it says laughing at Caius is like, laugh out loud, Caius. That means the rules lawyers win. That's very true. Ooh, I don't want to live in a world where the rules lawyers win. Oh my god. They keep, well, you realize on paragraph 268 on page 1652 in the fine print, you didn't know it was printed in invisible ink? That's your fault, not mine. Yeah, Dead Man's like, or the archons and demons team up to fight the devils and destroy order. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Blood War is continued by, is it Elminster or Mordenkainen? One of the master magi in the Forgotten Realms that is trying to keep the Blood War going between the lawful evil and the chaotic evil sects of the fiendish fiends, because if they ever team together and the celestials win, or if one side wins, that the the outer world order will be thrown into chaos in and of itself. I love that idea. I've always loved that idea, and I think too many of us are waiting for the fifth edition design crew to come out with like a Planescape, a Dark Sun, one of those things. And I think Planescape is sitting. It's like it's ready to get there, and they just haven't pushed it far enough. Personally, I'm a bit surprised that they're delving back into like gothic horror yet again, but bean counters and money, that has a lot to do with it. Plus, I'm sure a lot of, when you're using a huge creative team, there's a lot of stuff that's left on the cutting room floor, so people still want to use that material. But I think Planescape, uh, before Dark Sun is ready to be used. I think a Dark Sun is probably requires too much modification and they would all the new people that are pulled into the role playing sphere would have to be prepped for the amount of modification. Whereas I think Planescape is ready for a redo, not a revisit. Now you could make the case that Planescape still exists already. You can go, I believe it's on DM's Guild, and they've just copied and pasted the actual pages from that time. But man, oh, there's a re-release of Ravenloft and the Unearthed Arcana playtest materials. They have new Gothic archetypes, Gothic archetypes using the new way that they're creating the racial features in fifth edition. So yeah, they're still on that again. Not Mofa's like, I miss Planescape, dude, or I miss Planescape too, and I think it was a way, strangely enough, for alignment. Planescape makes perfect sense using the 9 point alignment grid, because we all know even with the 9 point alignment grid they actually expanded it even further, and it really embraced the idea that the planes aren't these generalized, like, oh, it's the Fey realm on one side and a dreamscape somewhere else, and the lower realms. They actually had, it was almost like a map of the outer planes and inner planes, which I really loved. I guess mentally, I I like the image of what the outer planes looked like, that wheel of outer planes that really isn't used any longer. And so you would have to kind of like, I think fifth edition would have to backtrack a little bit on the outer planes, because right now they're pretty nebulous. And yeah. Oh, all right, Caius, man, have a great one. It's early afternoon for you, or is it afternoon yet? Something like that. But anyway, have a great day. See you, Caius. Caius Glantry has his own YouTube channel as well, and plays plenty of games with like John Allen Large from Red Dice Diaries, and a ton of other actual plays as well. So please go into that. Mike Gould says there's 3 racial lineages: the Dhampir, Hexblood, and Reborn, as well as a guide to all the domains of dread around Ravenloft. Yeah, and now mind you, this might be also, I don't know for this for a fact, but this might be Watsy's way of very mildly introducing us to the idea that there might be other, like maybe other world lineages that you can make up. And also this is a way for them to change race from being something you're born into to something you might be, just using a narrative element where you might be transformed or cursed, might be an accursed individual. Maybe you underwent a type of special ritual that turned you into something else. And so this is a way for them to play with that a little bit. So I get it, but I'm like, we've got other new stuff out there. Go find something else. You gotta, I mean, there's even Magic the Gathering settings. I feel like they could have developed even further to go past other things to bring new people in as well that they're familiar with. Cameron says, I still want to try out Planescape. My current game is about to start going across the planes. Should I look into Planescape for that campaign? Look into Planescape I would look into Planescape to rip a lot of ideas. Planescape very much it it turned the philosophical nature, the ethical and moral um, uh, compass of what alignment is into the actual physical laws of the realms in which you go to. So if your players go to the mechanical world, into Mechanus, I believe it's called, of lawful neutral, there are rules that are involved in there. Whether there's something, modifications to whether characters can lie or not in the lawful good realm, or whether they're able to navigate in a normal play, normal function in the chaotic evil realm or chaotic neutral realm or something like that. So it turned alignment into actual physical and mechanical elements, and I think that's really cool. I like that a lot. I mean, it's sure, we all can have our judgments about whether alignment is any good or not, and you can go down that damn rabbit hole you want to. But the fact of the matter is, Dungeons and Dragons has creatures that are the embodiment of alignment, and you can't. It's really difficult to get away from that. So, but I like the idea that one doesn't fit with the other. I like the idea that human beings are like, we're complicated. We don't fit into alignment roles. But these outer world creatures are like, yeah, but we do. And we expect you to do the same. And then that conflict happens. Well, I'm I seem lawful good, but I got my problems. And the people in the lawful good realm are like, no, you belong to us. And then other monsters are like, no, you might think they belong to you, but they have free choice, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Mike Gould says, I bet that the Saltmarsh book, as well as some expanded vehicle mechanics in Avernus, are leading to advanced ship combat for Spelljammer. That's, you know what? That's another great idea as well, because they did do the Saltmarsh, like you said, Saltmarsh and Avernus vehicle character traits turned into vehicle traits and things of that nature. I think that Spelljammer might be the bridge between Planescape as well. I don't know. I also think, as we're circling well away from what we were talking about, but although I do think it does fit into like a Celestine type war. Yep. Yeah, I hear you, Dead Man. I'm on the same page. Dead Man says 3.5 was starting to get Spelljammer 2 books released. Then 4E came out, and WotC had to scrap it. Yeah, and that also happens when you start switching leadership and design and word count and all kinds of stuff like that, which is a shame. But going back to our point of paranoia and overreaction, I think that because I'm always a glass half full kind of individual. You guys know that, and the reason for that is because the idea of needing to scrap something because something else is included, I think, is wrong. That we can always pull our uh, creative sparks, any excuse to have something around us that will help us be more creative, I think is always helpful. And so, while I feel like some people are dead set against fifth edition changing things or whatnot. Well, first of all, there are no RPG police, so if you want to play the game the way you've always played it, you still have the ability to do that, which is pretty ridiculous. But also, there is the nature of there's the nature of why don't we embrace that the old way things were is part of the history of within the actual game setting, the meta of the game, and then the new way we're moving forward just happens to be a new legacy of things that we remember from the past. So maybe there are tendrils of those things happening in the past, and there are elements of the old dichotomy, whether it's old hatreds between different races or old bloodlines that are still around from the past that are no longer viable or have bred themselves out or went to war and killed themselves off, and there's still these enclaves that still sit around. And the same thing goes with like alignment and the planes and Celestine Wars and all that kind of business. Maybe those things are starting to disappear and thought of a little bit differently. For example, not every angels and demons come from a very can come from a very specific religious place in our real world, where there are other cultures and religions that don't have angels and demons. So, but the idea is that, well, they exist in the game. Do you eradicate them? I'm like, no. They just, much like every culture in our real world and in within Dungeons and Dragons has different pantheons. Maybe there are different pantheons out there in the world, and angels and demons exist side by side with what other cultures' versions of what um, an appropriately parallel to what angels and demons would be. Maybe there are ancestors that kind of replace those for somebody else, and maybe they are living side by side, or maybe they disappear when you go like doing Spelljammer or something. Because I see that. Yeah. Oh man, the intro to that is the video to that is so sweet. But anyway, Deadman puts in the alphastream.org what a 5e Spelljammer campaign setting might look like. And there is an awesome video. Please, Deadman, find that video for me, please. It is amazing to look at. And I was just like, oh, somebody's got to make this. Where'd that come from? It is Baldur's Gate, right? Yeah, it is Baldur's Gate. Okay. Yep. Does the Baldur's Gate 3 video game trailer mean Spelljammer is coming? Here's what a 5e, excuse me. There we go. Sorry, my chats were disappearing. This is what a 5e Spelljammer might look like. It's pretty sweet. Not pretty sweet. It is really sweet to look at. Complete with illithids and you know elder brains and the whole 9 yards and Spelljammer ships and stuff. It's really good looking. And if you're on our Discord and you see the little image, it's actually traveling from left to right. So those tentacles are like kind of pointing forward. The tentacles of the ship, kind of like a squid, squid with its rear end stuck up inside of a shell, a circular shell. I think the one Caius, who has already left, sorry about this. Caius brought up the fact of can you explore someone's psyche, and I think there's space to even. Thank you very much. There, yep. Official opening cinematic reveal from the Baldur's Gate 3, and it looks awesome. And I think there's a place to put in even psychological dangers if you want to incorporate them into something explorative, meaning like you could start to ramp up the dangers it takes to explore something because of the psychological horrors the player characters might be overcoming, whether it's something simple as the the DCs to overcome, I don't know, will saves or intelligence saves to not go insane might be creeping higher. Yeah, Mike Gould says a mind flayer Nautilus. It looks pretty sweet. It does look pretty sweet. We have such. Why is it in our gaming like um, there is this world that exists in the fantasy gaming realm meta of all of us that is so entranced with um, illithids and mind flayer, the illithid slash mind flayer concept, the Githyanki and Githziri, the beholders and aboleths and such. I I wonder what it is, and I'm asking you because I'm thinking of it myself, that entrances us so much about these specific um, elder god, elder brain worshiping, following, serving types of creatures beyond other types of aberrant creatures other than other types of monsters in our fantasy realms. And it's not because they're new. These are old. And of course, we know that illithids and mind flayers were basically pulled from Lovecraftian horror, turned, given, mechanical features and put into the game. But far too often, we players want to play like dark elves were a big thing. Everybody wants to play, a gray to black skinned elf with white to silvered hair, and then it was like people want to play the darker side. There are Asimir, but are they played as much as excuse me, as much as tieflings? No, because Cambion started out and then he became a player character portion option, and then players started wanting to play them. So now um, you have whole subsections of the internet devoted to fan art for their character that just happens to have, horns, and their parents are fiends and stuff. There's something about it. Maybe it's just because it's the thing that it's the counterculture part of it where it's a thing that we should be scared of. and a lot of times we fight our fears by embracing the fear itself. Maybe that's it. Maybe like kind of like domesticating canines and felines, some pretty dangerous predators. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. Deadman says the ship is called the Nautiloid, and the Mind Flayers came from the Astramundi cluster originally. Yeah, Cameron says they remind me of a cuttlefish or nautili. Yep, the Nautilus. Uh, Mike Gould says it's the influence of Cthulhu-like horror. Lovecraft knew what visual elements strike a chord within us. It is. It's so weird because, and I'm not saying it's wrong or we shouldn't. I'm just saying that much like dragons are the embodiment of our base fears, lizards, predatory cats and dogs, fire, things larger than us, things older than us, things smarter than us, something that is uh, invulnerable to our physical protestations. Striking it with a sword, it's like striking, solid steel or something. So it kind of embodies all of those together. But man, you know, Lovecraft, f you, dude. Um, with your playing on racial stereotypes, or maybe even influencing some of them. Um, Still was genius enough to find that chord, like you said, Mr. Gould. That there's something about it, that horror, that's deeper than being scared of like a tiger or like an alligator. It's a little bit deeper in there. And you know what? There is something to be said about. I mean, even today, scientists are still trying to study octopi and squids and things in the deep oceans, and we still don't understand them. And we know less about our. We know. I'm. This is. I'm making this up, but I have a feeling that we know more about the outside of our planet than we do the inner portions of it. And so I think there's a bit of that nature too, of going, just as we don't know what's in the void of space, we don't know what's down in the deepest parts of our own oceans. So I think there's playing on that as well. But it's amazing for someone to find something creatively that is so intrinsic to our base emotions, and triggers that I think is so cool that somebody could find something like that. Vampanoy says, we see parts of ourselves in them, like how many new players' first characters is a super idealized version of themselves. It's psychological. We call that bleed. Oh yeah, we sure. You know what? That might be a really good subject to talk about, because you are correct. Usually our first character is a extremely idealized version of ourselves. It's it's the elf in all of us. Right? It's the long-lived expert, very graceful, uh, um, extremely perceptive with a long legacy kind of thing. Keel, hey, yeah, I'm still here. And glad you're back as well. So I see that Vampanoid. It kind of starts there, and then eventually we start moving into things where we really shouldn't touch those kind of things. I definitely agree with you. Mike Gould says, I'll admit I prefer darker themed heroes, tieflings, half-orcs, fallen Asimar, etc. I'm a mixed race guy who wasn't really accepted by either side as a kid. Mixed race outsiders feel normal to me. Um, okay, all right, okay. I can see that. And I think we are, on one hand, we like to think of, I think part of our brain would love to think of ourselves as being very uncomplicated, because we are very complicated beings in the world. And to be Captain America, right? Like, Captain America is the epitome of an uncomplicated guy. It's like, I know what I need to do and I know what's right, and I don't question my own judgments. You know what I mean? Like, Captain America is very, very concrete in a fluid world. So there is that portion of it. And then there's also, like Mike was saying about uh, embracing the darker sides of us as people, and playing characters that have a dark edge, and making that dark edge a physical manifestation of that dark edge inside of us, I think is, that tempestuous part of us, that part of us that's like, you know, when we live in a polite society and we can't like beat people's asses on the norm, but we get to do that in our imaginations. I think that has a lot to do with it too. Like yeah, my parents are fiends. What do you what do you say about that? As I summon fire out of my hands and open up a can of whoop ass on my enemies. So okay, I can see that. Cameron says, what do you think would be some of the most intense effects of having a dragon as a benefactor for a party, both good and bad? Ooh, I'll get back to that in a minute because I see some, because Mike talked about cephalopods. Cephalopods break so many rules in how they think and learn. They inspire wonder and in some horror. Um, I would say dragons. Well, first of all, I think dragons are a perfect patron for player characters, absolutely perfect patrons. And if I think of fear of using something like demons, fiends, celestials, dragons, liches, etc. as patrons, the fear is that introducing them into the game is going to give the player characters too much power. But if you think about it, something that powerful, it's kind of like asking a president or prime minister or a dictator to help solve your parking ticket problem. It's a lot of these powerful entities don't really have time to mess with the small stuff, and most human beings of any type are pretty small problems, right? Oh, thanks, thanks, Keel. And so I don't think there's any problem with putting a dragon into making a dragon a patron, because if the players ask for something like ridiculous or outrageous or very minor, the dragon's going to be like, what? You brought what to me? F you. Slam door, close, boom, I'm going, right? So I think there's a way to, I mean, narratively, a wizard learning magic from a dragon? Hell's yes. Um, a narrative function of like my character is gaining levels because I'm learning to, or I'm my character is drinking the blood of dragons, or I am being taken to an outer realm where fiends are teaching me new things, or hell, the dragon has like infused some of the more martial characters with its own power or something like that. My answer to that is hell yes. That would be very awesome. As a matter of fact, you could even reskin, reflavor, kind of repurpose some of maybe some character options as like my character doesn't have the intimidation skill. What my character does is start to perform perform something intimidating, a shadow of the dragon appears behind them of their patron. And so when someone sees my little short halfling, they don't see my halfling, they see like this phantasmal image of like a dragon behind them. Now, do you have to make that a spell or something? No, you just say my character's got +8 intimidation expertise skill, and that's how it's described, and go with that. So on one hand, I think it's a excellent idea to do that, Cam, to have that, you know what I mean? Like, first level characters with a dragon as a patron, is the dragon's going to be like, I don't really want to deal with your issues. Here, follow some of my lizard folk reskin dragonborn kobolds. They'll handle your issue. When you are when you can lick my boots, then I'll talk to you directly, right? So it might be something like that with a lot of avatars and agents and part of that. So Mike Gould says, well, going back to the Captain America analogy I made, he says, if it says anything about me, my favorite hero isn't Captain America, it's Ghost Rider. My favorite hero is Ghost Rider. Sorry, I loved Ghost Rider. I still have my old Ghost Rider comic books. I should bring them out one day. I love Ghost Rider. The Ghost Rider was a sweet, vengeful character. Well, not was, still is, but yeah, I love Ghost Rider. Anyway, Michael goes on to say, dragons in a shapeshifted form can make perfect patrons. One can benefit for a long time and never know their patron is actually a dragon. Yeah, that's the specialty of like silver dragons. That's one of their like their core concepts is that they love to be in humanoid shape, usually elves, high elves or something, but you can make them anything you want. So shapeshifted dragons are awesome. Plus, you can give dragons anything you want: psychic potential and astral projection and all kinds of illusions and things of that nature. So hell yeah. Cam says my first character was the embodiment of what I thought I should be like, according to my friends, a ranger with alcoholism. My second character was a bisexual pyromancer sorcerer who became a mayor. See, exactly. Which is what role playing allows us to do is that whether it is something side of us we want to explore, whether it is exploring a person that we could never ever want imagine ourselves to be. Maybe we want to explore, put ourselves in someone else's shoes. I remember having a very minor flame war with someone who was upset that their dragonborn there was prejudice against their dragonborn, and they were like, "But my dragonborn is a paladin. I don't understand why people don't like me." And I was like, "Because that's what prejudice is like. Welcome, welcome to what it means to be hated for the way you look, right?" And that's what role playing allows us to be. But it's also the role playing community is also our safe place. It was always known as the place for the unwanted, the outsiders, the people who didn't fit in, the geeks, the nerds, the creatives, and who had no place to put our creativity and to bring us into the group. And the role playing community was always the place like, what, you don't fit in? Come here, sit down at the table. Here's some snacks. Here's a character sheet. Here's some funny looking dice with numbers on it. We'll teach you all about that. But the first part is we want to embrace you. And the fact that we have elements in our role playing community that are seeking to separate ourselves to close off those gates, I think is um, reprehensible, in my opinion. If you don't fit in, I don't care where you at. If you find this channel and you don't fit in, you're welcome here. All ladies, gentlemen, pronies, I don't care who you are, you're always welcome here. So if you feel like you're an outsider, step right on up. Thanks, thanks, Mike. Absolutely, thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hell yeah. This was our safe place, and it was a safe place for our minds, our imagination. I mean, if it wasn't for role playing games, my life would have turned out so different. I'd probably be dead, to be honest with you. And I think it really saved my life. I grew up in a nasty neighborhood with people who couldn't think past, you know, one or two corners down the street, and it allowed me to expand my mind far beyond my capabilities and to imagine myself in places that I could never be, to the point where I've grown past those that limited urban hood like mentality, and to the point where I didn't even fit in with everybody. I looked around and I was like, the fuck am I doing here? Like, what kind of you know what I mean, what kind of attitude is this? And sometimes it's not even, it wasn't money, it wasn't like politics, it wasn't any of that. It was just having a place to go, mentally have a place to go where other people were like, yeah, you know what, that those thoughts in your head, that's actually a good thing, man. Just develop that, and you're always welcome. So yeah, I loved it. Sorry, got me a little bit emotional there, but a little bit, but sorry about that. Vampanoid says there's the old trope where players murder the shopkeeper. In reality, how many people working in service industry would like to kill some of their problematic customers? Oh shit. You know what, that is so true. You know, for a long time ago, there was a gentleman that was a correctional officer, and I loved all his comments because in role playing games, how many like city guards were always like murdered because of like asking for like two copper pieces or something, and he's just like, you don't know how hard it is to be like a CO, man. He's like, so many people are just like, you know, you're just like this mindless, unskilled, um, barely a a speed bump in the way of my character doing their thing, and it's like, yeah, we should make up Service Industry, The Reckoning, or something. What's the new movie that's supposed to come out with Ryan Reynolds? Free Guy supposed to come out. Yeah, that should come out. Oh, who's this? Princess Brahammer says the wand shop guy breaks out the wand of disintegrate. Like, yo, I've been waiting for this shit. You want to walk in the wrong shop? You walked into the wrong shop, biatch. That'd be awesome. Players are like, I want to go to the magic shop. You're like, okay. You go in a magic shop and they're like, I'm going to steal everything. And the shop owner is like, mofo, what the hell do you think? This is a magic shop. All these magic items are mine. They are attuned to me. Door locks behind you, like, yeah. Oh man, that'd be hilarious. And we even talked about that. Like, why would giving magic items to your monsters is probably the best thing. It not only is the best thing, it's probably the most logical thing to do. Like a shopkeeper or like a shaman or all your goblinoids that can use weapons and items and things. They're not. They're not taking potions of invisibility and giant strength and tucking it in a box in the back of the room. They got it on their hip because they're going to down that stuff. The minute the PCs pull out their big guns, they're like, whoa, okay, look. Here's the wand. Here's my sword. Here's my cloak of invisibility. And PC's like, what the hell just happened? Hey, you threatened them without finding out what their capabilities are. That's your fault. So, yeah, but yeah, Princess, I agree with you. And by the way, thank you very much for stopping by. Look. I hope you've been lurking in the backgrounds, and I hope you didn't just catch the show at the tail end. We go live Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As Tesla Ranger and Deadman, the storyteller, who are the moderators, can attest to. Some days I'm full of energy just before the show starts. Other days I'm barely awake, but but you guys are my morning coffee as I drink my as I drink my almond milk. Please sponsor me, you sons of bitches. Anyway, it's like my mental mind fuel, and you guys help me out with that. So I like that. Cameron says, "Do you think shock collar karaoke would be funnier in D&D or LARPing?" Shock collar karaoke. Oh shit. It's extreme karaoke, bitch. Like if you play that Journey song one more time, up and down the boulevard, that a shadow, and then do that one more time. If you play another Sweet Caroline, oh my, oh, I'm gonna hit this button so hard. Oh man. Mike's like, I have actually run a magic shop and game that was owned by a hag in disguise. I dare you, rob it. I like that. Oh, you've been waiting? Oh, I've been waiting for this shit. You walked into the wrong shop, bitch. I love it. Uh oh, Bryhammer's like the dude playing a bard who can't actually sing starts sweating nervously, like, oh my god, oh shit. They're like, play my favorite song. You're like, oh my god. Oh, all right. I love it. Oh man. You know when we joked one time having like, you know how fey creatures are like really big into like the carousing, the entertainment, and having fun and stuff, and how funny it would be for like fey creatures already know what excellent entertainment looks like. So they Kale's like Bon Jovi or bust. Yeah. Oh no. Don't get me. I can't do the bars. I can't do a Bon Jovi bars because they'll ding me on YouTube. But one funny thing would be for players to be the worst at entertainment, to to entrance the fey creatures who already know what excellent entertainment looks like. So, like the barbarian who has like basically zero or negative skill in performance has to like read poetry or act or sing or dance. And the bard's like, wait, what? They don't like my stuff? And the fey creature's like, bored. Yeah, you sound perfect. Great, whatever. We want to hear real poetry, and for them, it's like the worst entertainment of all. They're like, I, I sing to you, my love, and fake creature's like, wow, did you hear that? That would just be very hilarious. Players trying to like, nope, you've got to role play this out, and everyone's like, what? Game master, dungeon master's like, nope, you've got to role play it. Yep. Oh well. Although I'm sure many players who have actual musical skill and incorporating that into the game is probably pretty sweet. Probably pretty sweet if you play with somebody that can do that. Mike's like, I've played a goblin bard who only played the banjo, which you want him at karaoke. Oh man, we did that with the Breaking Class series, but the idea that bards are far more than just lute and lyre playing um, artists, that they are artists of all types. But yeah, Princess is like, I mean that this is kind of what like interpretive dance and stuff is, right? A lot of those guys doing weird shit are like top tier ballet people and like people with serious dance chops that are bored with the conventional and do weird deconstructions and the like. As a matter, I really enjoyed. Sorry, side note. Columbus, Ohio, we had free. You could go to a park and they had something called 30 by 30, which were dancers who wanted to break the norm, and they had choreography or whatever, their own music, and they would go out to this park and perform. And they had their own little spots, how long it would take their little shows. So they say the show started like 6:30 and go out to like 9 o'clock in the evening. And they were from all different dance troupes, and they wanted to break the norm. And it was a deconstruction of what they did. It was like ballet to hip hop music. It was like break dancing to like classical music. It was all kinds of like strange combinations of people and environments and things of that nature, whether it was like props and sounds and animals and kids and the handicap, and it was just all kinds of weird cool stuff. And it was so awesome. They, of course, it's no longer around anymore, unless they bring it back. But yeah, it was extremely enchanting to watch people do things without rules and entertain without rules, and it was awesome for the dance community. So yeah. Yeah, Vampanoid, like it's so bad it's funny, like those comedian magicians, the comedian magicians that like they 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 make comedy. It's like the magic trick is getting screwed up, but they're still funny at it. I love magicians that do that kind of make fun of themselves. I find them much better than the super stoic, very very serious. Like, I'm going to do a mind trick, and I'm dressed in black, and I'm all goth with like dark fingernails and eyeshadow and stuff. I like the ones that are like here's a greasy paper bag, and I'm going to accidentally stick my hand in it. Oops, it disappeared. What happened? Yeah. Princess is like, it leaves normal audiences like, what the fuck is this? But to someone that knows dance, they are losing their minds over it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was an episode of So You Think You Can Dance, and someone was doing he was an expert ballet dancer, and in the song there's a part where it's talking about like his body is broken and he doesn't fit in, and he does this, for lack of a better description, he does this weird conniption fit, sprawling, almost almost spastic move across the dance floor, completely not air quotes dancing, using any technique at all. And then at the very end of it, he springs up in this like huge jump, and it was so brilliantly done because it broke what was doing normally happening. Much like Sia, the singer Sia, that phrase her vocal cords. She sings at a high pitch and then she goes above it to break her voice and then comes back down again. It's the same thing. I think that's how what I think you're saying, Brawhammer, and I absolutely agree with you is what I'm trying to get across. Yeah. Dead Man says most players would rather role play it out, like rolling the dice. I agree with you. But you know what? If you're doing beer and pretzels, gaming, and you kind of want to have a little bit of fun with it, sure. And mind you, I'm not, it's not like me saying, you know what, every game needs to have everybody be an entertainer. No, nothing like that. Oh shit. Anyway, guys, yeah, we got a little squirrely on this. We got a little squirrely today, but that usually happens at the end anyway. I want to thank all of you for being part of the show. Yeah, we go live Monday through Friday. Please, just if you got the opportunity, like, share, subscribe, spread the word about the channel. Maybe there's somebody you don't like and you want to let them know about the channel because you want to get on their nerves. That's appropriate as well. But anyway, go down to the doobly-doo, check out some of the links down there. Check me out on Drive-Thru-RPG and some other things, blah, blah, blah. And please go to Level Up 5E. That is Level Up, the number 5E. It is a project by N-World. I am one of the contributing writers over there. Please check it out. Find out about Advanced 5th Edition, this huge project being developed by N-World. There's plenty of playtest materials. You can sign into the surveys, and you can have an influence on, if you're someone who would like to have a Advanced 5th Edition, join in on that project. So guys, thank you very much for helping me out and bringing the show to life. I appreciate it. Everyone, have a great day. I will see you later. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I will see all of you later.